Hello everybody, this is Ragnar, and I wanted to take a moment to share with you a build that I came up with for Citadel of Flame Mastery farming. That's been pretty popular recently since the launch of Heart of Thorns to grind out your core Tyria masteries, and so I wanted to give it a shot. Before today I didn't have any, I think I had maybe Fractal Attunement 1 trained up like a quarter of the way. It was pretty much nothing was trained. And I did this farming for about, it was a little over 6 hours straight today using this build with a 5-man group. And I was able to max out Pact Commander, get 3 out of 4 tiers of Legendary Crafting, and 3 out of 4 tiers of Fractal Attunement. So, and that was after about a little over 6 hours without any breaks, so you can expect to get that if you're running this build. The boosts I was using was Celebration bonus, Experience booster, which now, after the merge with the Killstreak booster, you should have 10 stacks of Killstreak up, no problem. And then food, whatever food you want, it doesn't matter. It's the plus 10% experience from kills. If there's another food that gives more than just plus 10, I'm not aware of it. So if you can leave that in the comments, that would be great for other people to know. And then Powerful Potion of Slaying Scarlet's Armies is really nice because it gives plus 15% from kills. So that was the utility I used. The build itself uses longbow and sword, torch. The main part of it is just offhand torch. So really the rest of it is whatever you want to bring. I brought main hand sword because I really like to have the two, Monarch Leap and Hornet Sting, to jump around and get to the nodes faster. But it really could be whatever you want because I actually didn't auto attack about it all. This is set up for a running the points. It's a Condi based build using all Rabid scale gear. I'm using Runes of the Crate, and then all Rabid trinkets with Rabid weapons. My bow is Assassins because I didn't really use it much. I just use it for emergencies when I needed to get more AoE on them. For my pets, really you just want to run the Fire Drake, and I kept him on passive, just using his F2 to get some extra AoE out there. For my utility skills, I ran We Heal as 1. You really shouldn't need your heal though. If you're running it effectively, you should regen just enough, just fine. Popping in and out of combat, you really shouldn't take any damage. If you want to use a different condition armor, you can. I just used Rabid because that's what I have. But really, I wasn't taking much damage at all because you're running the whole time. So take that in mind. You can really use whatever Condi set you want. I used Flame Trap and Viper's Nest, and with the traits I'll be talking about in a second with the Trap Mastery, Viper's Nest has just barely enough time to make the full rotation around to use again, so 16 seconds is just right, just enough time. Signet of the Hunt for the movement speed. If you want to do the fancy swiftness stacking build, you can, using We Heal as 1, but I just got lazy. It takes a long time. After about 6 hours, it starts to feel like NASCAR. You're just turning left over and over and over and over. And then Strength of the Pack. Really, you can bring whatever elite you want. I was at one point bringing Take Root, the Sylvari thing, just for fun, but I rarely used it just because you do so much damage without needing it anyway. So you can bring whatever you want. For the traits, the main ones that you need are Skirmishing and Wilderness Survival, set up this way. And then I just brought Marksmanship because your only other options are Beast Mastery and Nature Magic, neither of which have incredible bonuses. Beast Mastery is not that great because you're barely using your pet anyways. You want him on avoid combat, otherwise he gets aggro and he pulls the mobs away from the stacked group, and it's just a mess. So you just keep him on avoid combat, and then you use his F2 to get a bit more AoE in there. So Beast Mastery is not really that necessary. And Nature Magic is also not that necessary because you don't really need that much survivability. So for Marksmanship, I grabbed Call of the Wild or Clarion Bond. Bot, mid, bot. That's the easiest way to describe it. You can really bring Marksmanship however you want. This just helps out a little bit with your bow. For skirmishing, I've got bot, top. The biggest thing that you need is right here, Trapper's Expertise. This gives your traps more damage, longer condition duration, which really helps to make sure that you get tag credit on everything. And then the reducing cooldown lets you make sure you can get the Viper's Nest each time. Both of your traps should be ready each cycle around. And then Quick Draw is also very important because that allows you to, on a perfect rotation, that allows you to get up a bonfire with your Torch 5 every single time, every time you lay down your traps. And we'll talk about that in a moment. And then in Wilderness Survival, we got bot, top, bot, and you could bring something else, but the pets have extra condition damage. It helps a little bit for when you use your pet activation, which is only once every 35 seconds. I suppose that would be a good reason to bring Beast Mastery so that you can use that more often. So that's a good reason to bring Beast Mastery. Ambidexterity, this is a good one. This one reduces the cooldown on your bonfire so you can use it more often. This one's a must. And then Poison Master, damage increase from poison helps with Viper's Nest, so that works pretty well right there. So as you can see, the general idea is everybody stacks in a corner and you just run around triggering all of the different fire bubbles and join your stack of friends, drop both of your traps and your bonfire, or really both of your traps and some other AoE. Usually your bonfire, that's the best, so that you can just jump back in and keep aggroing the bubbles. You don't have to wait. But you can also use barrage from your longbow and / or your F2 for your Drake or your Wyvern. That way that you have both the traps, and then anybody that didn't get hit by your traps, maybe they trickled in late, or maybe the traps didn't last long enough, will get hit by your other AoE, either your bonfire, your barrage, or your pet's activated ability. Now a perfect rotation looks like you run around in a circle, and when you hit your stack of friends, then you use both your traps, and you're actually in longbow, and then once you get into combat, you swap to your torch, and then you use the torch skill. That way you get the benefit of the quick draw, and it's only a 6-second cooldown instead of a 20-second cooldown. And then, if your group does a good job of burning down all the enemies, there should be a point on your next run around where you'll briefly leave combat. You use that split second to swap back to longbow for free, the out of combat swap, weapon swap, and then that frees you up to lay down your traps, and once you get in combat, you swap back into, you swap back over to your torch, and then you use bonfire again. And so that actually lets you use bonfire every single time. But on times where, you don't get the weapon swap or whatever, just use barrage. It does take, a little over 2 seconds to channel it, which, doesn't sound like a long time, but honestly, it adds up. If you're doing this for hours and hours and hours, you want to be as efficient as possible. Speaking of which, I have heard of other versions where people stack in the center of all 4 of the bubbles, and then somebody like a thief runs around in the circle and cluster bombs the center, and people say that that's faster. I honestly don't see the point in that, because it's a little bit more difficult to get tag credit because everybody's spread out. All the enemies are spread out. They don't line of sight into a corner. Granted, my group in this video, we're not necessarily line of sighting very well anyways. It's still just a stack. But especially with this build, it really helps to have everybody to the side stacked up so that you can have time to run over and get them all in one wave with your traps. If they're in the center, they all just kind of aggro at the same time. And it's not really time gated by their run distance. They were saying it's faster and you get more experience because the enemies don't have to run nearly as far. Well, if you think about it, they're spawning, the rate that they're dying anyways. The rate that you're getting experience is based on how fast you can spawn the mobs. They're going to die one way or the other. So it really depends on your runner being able to go around in circles. And with this build, it really minimizes the downtime of having to stay in with the group and DPS down the mobs, because you're using traps and stuff. This video is around the ranger build, but I've seen turret engineers do this effectively. Guardians, staff spamming 1. That's probably the easiest way, but yeah, the premise is really simple. You just run around and stack them up, and it's really fast. And people were wondering if ArenaNet is going to nerf mastery farms like this, especially Citadel Flames. And at first I thought yes, but the more I think about it, now that I got my I have my core Tyria, I spent all the master points that I have, I'm realizing that it's not the experience that's going to be the gate long term for masteries. It's the points. Now the only way I can get more master points is by doing difficult achievements and stuff. Honestly, I think that it seems overpowered and it seems crazy right now, but honestly, we're just catching up to a system that in the future is going to be mostly gated by mastery points. So that's my thoughts. Could be totally wrong. They could nerf it tomorrow, and so I would take advantage of it one way or the other while you can. It's definitely not an exploit, because it is pretty exhausting to do as the runner, especially. But alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. After the past several months I've been kind of inactive, waiting for the expansion, but I am fully active again, and very much into the game, and you can expect much more content from me. Maybe not so much on the Mesmer. I am enjoying Chronomancer, and I do plan to do a bit with that, but for right now I'm really enjoying my Ranger and Druid and all the things that Ranger has to offer. So, but you can expect videos from both PvP, PvE, and a variety of classes. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you for the next one.